Hello and welcome to Justice, live tonight from our nation's capital. I'm Judge Jeannie Pirro. Thanks for being with us. My opening statement. Paul Ryan needs to step down as Speaker of the House. The reason? He failed to deliver the votes on his health care bill, the one trumpeted to repeal and replace Obamacare, the one that he had 7 years to work on, the one he hid under lock and key in the basement of Congress, the one that had to be pulled to prevent the embarrassment of not having enough votes to pass. But this bill didn't just fail. It failed when Republicans had the House, the Senate, the White House. And the timing? It failed within the first 70 days of President Donald Trump's administration, a president who made replacement of Obamacare the hallmark of his campaign, and then used valuable political capital to accomplish it. You know, Americans elected the one man they believed could do it, a complete outsider, someone beholding to no one but them. And Speaker Ryan, you come in with all your swagger and experience, and you sell him a bill of goods, which ends up a complete and total failure. And you allow our president, in his first 100 days, to come out of the box like that? Based on what? Your legislative expertise, your knowledge of the arcane ins and outs of the bill-writing process, your relationships? What, your drinks at the Hay Adams with your pals? Folks, I want to be clear. This is not on President Trump. No one expected a businessman to completely understand the nuances, the complicated ins and outs of Washington and its legislative process. How would he know which individuals upon whom he would be able to rely? Many of them friends and establishment colleagues of Speaker Ryan. You, on the other hand, Speaker Ryan, know very well who are the 15 hardliners, the 10 moderates, and all the other ones. You, of course, know their demands. And if you didn't, why didn't you? Some of them actually shut down the government over Obamacare, and you couldn't figure out what you needed to do to get their support? You knew no Democrat was going to support it, and that you would have to rely on Republicans. How could you possibly misjudge this? And where was the whip Scalise in all of this? How tough a lift was this? And why start with this if you're not sure you've got the votes? Now, I certainly have not spoken with the president about any of this, but I can only imagine that he and his aides took on health care because they believed you had his back, and you didn't. You didn't even test the waters. You had no consensus, and I hate it when Schumer and Pelosi get to beat their drums and talk about what a great day it is for America that President Trump failed, when even they know that Obamacare is a total disaster. The president, on the other hand, is handling this with dignity. And he doesn't seem to want to criticize you, saying this.
I want to thank Paul Ryan. He worked very, very hard. I will tell you that.
Mr. President, all reports are that you wanted to handle the tax cuts first, but that Ryan convinced you to go with health care. If that's the case, not only has he hurt you with his health care debacle, but the ripples that will hurt you as you try to overhaul the tax code will come back at you. The Freedom Caucus, feeling emboldened by their win with this health care failure, will now dig their heels in on the tax cuts. Ryan has hurt you going forward, and he's got to go. The shame of this is that in addition to putting your faith in someone who did not have your back, You made the decision, as opposed to letting Obamacare explode, as it inevitably will, you decided to take it on anyway.
Waited 2 years, it's going to explode like you've never seen an explosion. Nobody's going to be able to afford it. It's a disaster. And that's politically what we should do, but we don't want to do that. We want to get something done and get it done right.
I never put my faith in you, Ryan. I questioned you all through the campaign. When you distanced yourself from candidate Trump whenever you felt the prevailing winds blowing against Trump. To me, your loyalty was always in question. Yet what was never in question to me was your intelligence, your savvy, and your comprehension of the system. So why? Why would you let this happen? What was your agenda? The reason, Ryan, you and all your Washington colleagues are held in such low esteem with the American people is because you've forgotten about us. In spite of the fact that you rhinos were all working against him, though, the president joined with you. And he relied on you, trusting you, believing you had his back, and you didn't. The American people won't forget this, and neither should the president.
All our eyes are on the House's Obamacare replacement bill tonight. Members were supposed to vote on it earlier. That was the plan, but then it got delayed, presumably because there aren't enough votes for it. Every news outlet in America is covering this, of course, the drama of it. But that coverage is obscuring a deeper truth about what's going on Capitol Hill, or more precisely, about what's not going on Capitol Hill. Not much is happening there. Most significantly, the GOP majority might not even bother to introduce a serious immigration bill this year. Think about that for a minute. President Trump ran on a promise to control the border and reform the immigration system so that it reflects the interests of middle-class Americans, not just of big employers and the donor class. It was his most prominent position. He won the November election because of that position. But to fulfill that promise, the president needs the help of Congress, and they will have to move fast. The Republicans control both chambers as of today, but there's no guarantee that'll be the case 2 years from now. And yet, if you look around, there is no urgency at all. Pick 3 Senate staffers at random and ask them if an immigration bill is coming anytime soon. They may look at the floor, shift their feet, mumble. What they won't say is yes, because they know a meaningful immigration bill may not be coming, and why would it? Many Republican senators prefer mass immigration. The people who fund their campaigns profit from it. Their families and friends don't see a downside to it. They're not affected by chaotic public schools or filthy emergency rooms or falling wages at all. So there's not a lot of incentive to change the status quo, but there are definitely risks, social ones anyway. Vote for real borders. You might have to endure being called a racist by some 27-year-old blogger at BuzzFeed. That's terrifying to members of the Senate. So if he wants to make good on his most basic promise to the country, the president will have to make Congress fall in line, and there's only one way to do that. Fear is the most primal of all emotions, and it's the most effective motivator known to politics. If the president wants an immigration bill, the White House ought to present its plan, not talking points, but a real plan with details. Explain what it is, why it works, how it will make the American middle class stronger than it already is, and then wield the stick. Make it plain that if Republican members of Congress won't back that bill, the White House will support primary efforts by those who will back the bill. And that will work. Nothing else will. That's about it for us tonight. Tune in every night at 9 to the show that's the sworn enemy of lying, pomposity, smugness, and groupthink. Don't forget to DVR it if you don't already. Sean Hannity is up next, and that promises to be a fascinating show with Chairman Devin Nunes on it. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.